I would like to acknowledge that this podcast is being recorded on the traditional lands of the Boon Wurrung and Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation as the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which Glen Ira is located. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge and uphold their continuing relationship to this land.
And welcome back to the Swinburne Professional Staff Network podcast, the podcast professionals with Kristy and Ash, made by professional staff for professional staff. We hope everyone is doing well, enjoying some of our newfound freedoms. So lockdown 4 done, lockdown 5 done. Someone did send a coffee card via Teams the other day. The 6th lockdown is free. But I think I just want to do. I think everyone has a really shared sentiment of appreciation for how well Victoria has handled these lockdowns and how hard everyone's worked. I think good luck to and very concerned for our friends in New South Wales and other states. They had better case numbers. I'm conscious, Kristy, that your mum may be telling me off at the end of this podcast because I'm pretty sure I just counted myself saying about 10 times. Apologies for that, everyone, but particularly to Kristy's mum. Big apology there. So speaking of, Kristy, welcome back to the mic and welcome to your mum also, one of our biggest fans.
She is. Hi, Ash. Great to see you as always, and thank you so much for that lovely intro. And that did make me giggle, actually. The 6th lockdown is free. Geez, hopefully that's way off in the distance, but yeah, I'm glad that lockdown's over with, and this weekend will be our first weekend free, so not sure what I'm going to get up to, but unfortunately lockdown number 5 for me put the brakes on some annual leave that I was going to be heading off to Queensland, but fingers crossed we can make it later next month. That is if everything's not a red zone. So, yeah, we'll just wait and see.
Oh, so such a bugger. Like everyone who's had to cancel holidays, I'm so impressed with how people, again, just end up accepting that. But that's just such a disappointment. Was this a double cancellation? It was like a rebooking from last year's lockdown?
No, we didn't actually take any annual leave last year.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Oh, my God, I can't even remember. Days here and there, Christmas time, but no, I didn't actually. Hang on, I took the contribution leave, so I don't know, what a blur. But, yeah, absolutely. Had plenty of annual leave starting to pile up, so, yeah. But hopefully next month we can get on a plane and head on north, get some warm weather. So we'll wait and see. Fingers crossed. Hey, Ash, before we introduce our very special VIP guest today, I wanted to share with you and kick off with some fun facts and stats. So with our podcast, there's some analytics that get done in the back end, but I wanted to see if anyone was listening. And I had a look at the listening rates and blow me down. Yes, we do have people listening to the podcast. And it's not just my mum, but it is we actually do have people tuning in, listening and enjoying the podcast.
That's so exciting to actually see people are listening, people are downloading, people are connecting. So, and it's so nice to see that that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to help people connect and feel connected. So thank you, everyone. And it's just amazing. Particular shout out to Rita. She had one of our highest rated episodes in the library right up there. So Rita, hopefully you're listening to this podcast too. Thanks particularly to you, but everyone for suggesting topics and buying into the podcast. I'm now super conscious of the ums.
Oh, I know. Hey, I know Rita's listening, so high five to you, Rita.
Yes.
It was a cracker, right? Yeah. Oh, geez, now you've got me saying it.
I know.
So,
Arms are catchy, right? It's like when someone is looking at you, like you're working together and you're typing an email or a document, never will you do more typos than when someone, or particularly like your stakeholder or your boss, who may be the loveliest person on earth, but you're still going to make more typos and be more embarrassed than any other time you're writing an email.
All thumbs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we are also talking podcast on podcast on podcast, and there's a whole podcast community. I don't know how many more times I can say podcast. Please stop me.
It's okay. I wanted to also share some good news with our amazing listeners. First of all, I wanted to start with, drum roll please, I will insert that. We have been asked to throw our hat in the ring for not one but two industry conferences on podcasting, and we have submitted for two industry, I've said that, but do you know what I mean? We've
two conferences. We've never, is this your first conference submission?
Oh my God, I've got COVID brain, can't speak. Yes, I have never.
Me too.
Never. First time.
And it's so exciting. So the first one is ATEM, the TEMC conference, Bright Futures. So worth also making sure everyone knows it's on Yammer. Nicola Howard has put up on Yammer. We actually have institutional entry to the conference. It's between the 11th and 13th of October. So we've got full access to the online version of those 3 days. And we're doing this in some of our teams. Really good idea. People in groups or across the university, book some time out to attend the sessions as a group. Right?
Okay,
so
that's a good idea.
It's like the conference experience online. We're all able to attend. Also, shamelessly plugging that if Kristy and Nicola and I do get selected, maybe everyone book in and tune into that. Just saying.
That would be awesome.
It will be either epic or terrifying.
Yeah, but it's like pushing ourselves because I've never done anything like this before, but we can do it. We can do anything. And the other conference is the Australian Educational Podcasting Conference 2021, and this is run by Swinburne podcasters, and the topic is engaging our hearts and minds through audio. So Ash and I had to submit an abstract and also an audio. So what we did was we mashed up a bit of an intro and an outro and some funny bits of our podcast and submitted that as our audio submission, which went down really well. So we're just waiting to hear back. So I think it's pretty exciting, daunting at the same time, but we've submitted. We're going to do it, and we have got so much encouragement and support, in particular from the Adobe Creative Cloud guys, but also the School of Social Sciences, Media, Film and Education. So who would have thought? Look out.
No one. Like I'm still bowled over about how much this has taken off. And there's a bit of a collective, or I suppose Kristy and I were talking about what the word community of practice, but just a general group. There is so many Swinburne podcasters, people creating podcasts across Swinburne, but there's also in research groups, they're researchers and different engagement with industry and maybe not government, definitely industry, but also various different groups. So Kristy.
Yeah, we are going to actually connect with this new crew, and I don't know what a group of podcasters is called. Maybe we can figure that out. But there's people there's students, there's staff, academic, professional staff. There's actually a whole range of us. So we're going to join forces. So stay tuned there.
Podcast of podcasters.
I know. How cool is that going to be? It's going to be
we can't call it a group. We need something epic like a murder.
Gaggle. Oh, yeah.
It doesn't have to be murder. That's just the one I was thinking of because there's crows that are outside the window.
Yeah.
some sort of epic group name would be good.
We'll come back. I think we'll put it out on Yammer, see if we can.
Yes.
That's what we'll do, engage with some of our amazing listeners. But you're probably also really wondering about how the Tour de France competition wrapped up, were you?
Yes, I was absolutely wondering that. I remember these things.
Well, after 3 weeks of little to no sleep watching Tour de France, it's over for this year, and I have heard from some people that this was the best competition ever in the whole world. So personally, I agree. But now we are right into the middle of the Olympics and yet another office competition, which is awesome. I sit physically within the SERG research group, the sports group, which has ex-Olympians in that group. Right, get out of here. And also I
did not know that.
Yeah. We've all been given, we've been buddied up with someone, we've been given like a group of countries, and in my group of countries is China. So I am doing really well right now. Yeah. And the ex-Olympian, I think double Olympian, is Ellie Faulkner, who swam in Rio and for Great Britain. She's British. And she's a PhD student with the SERG research group and an absolute cracker too. She's a legend. So but I've been asking questions of the sports people, and they've been absolutely fantastic. So I will keep you posted, Ash, on how I'm going, but gold's looking good for me.
I think well deserved. You've trained long and hard.
I have.
No, it's good. It's good. I don't particularly follow the Olympics except what Facebook tells me. Having said that, though, I think in a way, and we'll see what Dan thinks when we talk to Dan, our VIP guest later on, I am just always totally amazed by any elite athletes.
I know.
The dedication, the time, energy, and just the focus as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 100% all in, isn't it? Hey, Ash, just changing gears for a moment. Here's a topic I wanted to raise and chat about and put out there with the network. During this lockdown, it coincided with the Dry July campaign. And there's been lots of discussion about how much alcohol people are drinking during lockdown, and also at the other end of the scale, the absence of alcohol. Are you aware of Dry July? Can't say it.
I am. And, I didn't even realise, someone in our team was doing Dry July and raised a few $100 for.
Really?
I really should have asked her which charity that was raised for.
So I think some of them can be they raise funds for people affected by cancer. So but I think you can choose who you want to raise funds for. So I think that's such a really good initiative, and it's been going for a couple of years now. You might not be aware of it, but since March I've been doing Dry July. So I felt like last year I just was having too much alcohol in drinking, too much and not getting enough exercise, and it was making me feel like crap, even more so than, being in lockdown. That just added onto it. So This year I made the conscious effort to just cut it right back. So I have just cut it right back, and I felt, for me, it's been really good. There's some great alternatives if you want to drink non-alcoholic wine, beer or cocktails. But I didn't actually participate in the Dry July, but in the fundraiser, but I actually have been doing Dry July since March.
Dry July or October. Some people do that in October. I've heard it. I've heard it at least once in my life anyway. That counts.
Okay.
I think it's really good to raise that, because a lot of people, both at close colleagues but also friends, alcohol creep was easy to do in lockdown, and people sort of noticed that one, might have a Friday drink, but maybe more often. And it's a real it's a thing that we should be able to talk about, and just in lockdown, that sort of surreal environment. I think made it just easier for people to lose track of how much they wanted to have a drink generally in life, because you have a drink and your sleep is not necessarily as good. Sleep, maybe metabolism. We need some of the health people in on this. I just realised that's who we should have called. We should have called one of the people and just one of our expert academics in nutrition and health, because I'm sure that there's research into this.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I know, I think Nicola's talking about this in the next SPSN newsletter, but there's so many benefits for having a break or even reducing alcohol, and, you sleep better, you feel better, no hangovers, and also not to mention like the money saved. So that is an upside for sure. So, I just want to raise that and just what are other people doing? Has anybody else done that? Yeah, jump onto Yammer. Let's start some conversation around, whether you participated in Dry July or anything else along that line.
Or just drinking or eating generally in lockdown. How has it changed? And has it changed and you didn't realise and didn't want it to, or did want it to? Some people have actually gone, no, you know what, this is what I'm going to focus on in lockdown, what goes into my body, and, just sharing different experiences, I think, is really good.
Important. I've done the same thing and analysed what I was eating and drinking and, cut it right back. So being able to shed some of that COVID weight that I put on last year, which was God, man, it's spreading. All right, Ash, enough with the boozy chitty chatter. Let's introduce to the SPSN microphone our very special guest.
Yeehaw. And welcoming our VIP guest for this episode, we have Dan Dunne. He's the Research Centre Manager for the Centre for Transformative Innovation, which lives in Sobel, which is the School of Business, Law and Entrepreneurship, as we're all getting used to new names, new acronyms. Thank you, Dan, for taking the time to talk to us on the podcast.
Great to be here.
Hi, Dan. How you going?
Good.
Go ahead, Ash.
Oh, we do this every time. We're like, wait, someone go. I will go. So actually, we're going to ask Dan for you to go and just tell us a bit about your role and journey at Swinburne, and just a little bit about CTI for the listeners, so they they sort of get a feel for the centre and what the centre really. What is transformative innovation? So let's just start with you.
So I was like, what's the easiest answer to question to answer? But I'll work backwards. So CTI, the Centre for Transformative Innovation, is essentially like three groups of researchers piled up on top of each other. So one of them would be the history of science, which I kind of like, just to throw back to my philosophy days. Not that I have anything to do with it, but I used to do history and philosophy of science back in the day. So basically, why is the way that we do science the way that it is currently? So if you want to use a historical example, Copernicus, in terms of how we look at the sun and all that kind of jazz, and how that changed from a Earth-centric point of view to a sun point of view. So that's one aspect. Then the other aspect would be the economics of innovation, which looks into the economics mainly within Australia, but we're also looking at international groupings and how trademarks work there. So that can be something as broad as research and development schemes within Australia, or working with the ABS to look at, data from different corporations to see how their trademarking affects their bottom line, that kind of stuff. So sort of getting into the data crunching. And then lastly, we've got the social network analysis, which looks into basically how people relate to each other, which is what we're currently doing in this podcast. So it'll sort of map out Facebook connections, Teams connections, face-to-face connections, telephone connections within an organization, and sort of go, hey, these are your main points of connection. These are the things that you can improve on. This is how your organization can improve, or your outreach can improve. And so those three different elements kind of coalesce to create the center.
I did not know that. I didn't know. I knew about the social network analysis mob, but I didn't know about the other two. So that's super interesting.
Well, it's sort of one of those things where it's not like a bonfire, but it's hard to put them all in the same seat to give them equal credence because, as soon as something becomes like the hot new thing, you go, oh, we're going to talk about this now. So, for instance, for the history of science people, they're talking about the history of CSIRO and looking in the history of nutrition sciences within Australia. If you want someone to talk to, it's an adjunct, Ken McInnes. He knows everything about how welding was invented in Australia and how that changed welding materials and stuff like that. The actual art of welding.
Like in Flashdance, like the lady with the...
but like, a little less dancing. But basically it was like to get away from rivets and how the buildings were constructed there. So that's the thing, like you go within depths about it. So interesting stuff. So my role in all that is to wrangle the academic cats and making sure that they sit nicely in rows while they're applying for grants and doing their projects and not spending too much money, but spending enough money on the project, and then making sure that different grant organizations are happy with the end result, which is good and sometimes challenging, but mostly fun and good because you get involved with the research and you actually see, especially if you've been here for a while, you actually see sometimes PhDs develop into postdocs who then develop into level B and C academics, which is really satisfying from sort of a, like seeing someone develop and seeing them grow as an individual, which brings me to my last point, which is how I got involved in Swinburne. So I actually started in 2014 as a master's student, or actually a HDR student, studying or doing a thesis on video game narratives. So looking at how video games stories were told and the collaboration between writer and player and how that kind of made things messy in terms of how you can write a script for a game because people would be doing different things at different times and so the story would change. So I did that for about 3-4 years, got really involved in academia. And then towards the end, sort of realized it wasn't for me, swapped over to finishing off a master's and went, man, I really like academia, but I also like universities, but it's a bit rough to me. What can I do? So I was like, I'll look at admin roles, see what I can get. And so I'm looking through. I was like, oh yeah, Melbourne Uni, oh yeah, La Trobe. And then the Swinburne, I'm like, oh yeah, Swinburne University, they were pretty good. CFBS, I don't know what that stands for.
Sorry.
Forensic Behavioral Sciences. I know what it means, but like at the time I had no idea. So I was like, oh yeah, cool, I'll go along. And had an interview and got hired as a academic support officer, I think it was at the time. And so worked there with Brett. I've completely forgot Brett's McIver. So worked with him for a while, worked with Jim for a while, and then there was a position available within the Centre for Mental Health, like aiding it. So I sort of helped out there for a bit as a research centre coordinator, which was good. And I did that for a couple of months, and then that became a fixed term role. So I worked there for about, I think it was a year and a half. So that was started 2018 and then sort of had that role until August 2019. And then I applied for a research job. So a grant, trying to remember the proper name for it. It was content and I've completely forgotten, content and framework guidance officer. So basically making sure that the grants, when they got sent off, were done to the upteenth level. So ARC grants, NHMRC grants, anything else under the sun, just make sure that all the bells and whistles were attached. So did that for a year and then enjoyed that quite a lot in terms of the work. And then eventually Ash tapped me on the shoulder and was like, there's a couple of roles going on at FBL at the time. And I was like, oh yeah, cool, interesting. And so I became an RC under Louise in the Centre for Social Impact. And then a couple of months after that, there was a role within Centre for Transformative Innovation as a centre manager role, which is something that I've always wanted. I was like, I'll go for that as well. So I've sort of jumped through a bunch of different hoops to get where I am now.
I think you wrote
so interesting
applications in a short space of time than the whole year before.
I mean, applications. I mean, that's what I was doing practically for all the grant applications. I was like, I'm getting really good at this. I should apply this.
So there's been such, like you said, it's been so diverse.
Mm.
You've jumped around a fair bit. That's really interesting. How did you find all that process? Like, switching in between different schools and departments?
I think it's important as like you can be really comfortable in an area, but I think it's good to get a feel, like an actual feel, like in terms of experience working with an area, it's just to know what it's like. Because it's very easy to be like, oh, you know, like research just does X, Y, Z, or FHAD/Sobel does X, Y, Z. But until you're actually there talking to the people, interacting with them for, I'd say like at least a couple of months, then you get an idea of the place and the people and the processes. And so when it comes to doing like whole of Swinburne stuff, so for instance, we've got a process development review thing. It sort of helps to know where each person's coming from, just because you've had similar experiences or you know the history. So I think that's interesting, but also just from a skills development point of view, like I can go look at a grant and go, oh yeah, like it'll need this and this and this, and all that kind of stuff is like a soft skill in a way, because that's things that you can put in a document, but you know, experience is the best teacher. So that's certainly been helpful, and definitely like the RC experience, research coordination experience that I had in FHAD has definitely helped me a lot within Sobel.
Great, God, that's so interesting. And you said you're pretty good at cat wrangling. So is that on your CV?
Yeah, no, I always mention it in interviews. I think like this is nothing against academics. Academics are wonderful, but it's like with anything where you've got to administer a number of things. People go in different directions because people are individuals, and so
and it's their job.
Yeah, no, definitely. So you know, I'm not trying to stand in the way of that. I'm just trying to get them to wrangle in the right direction. Which
do you have any hot tips there?
Depends on the individual, but most of the time I think it's transparency about the processes. So if someone goes, I don't want to do XYZ form because it's boring, I go, first of all, yes, 100% it's boring. Number two, it's really necessary, because if we don't do all these steps, then we get into the hot water, which most of the time that's true, because you know, funding agreements, you want to make sure the funding's right up front, because if you go to a project and everyone's like, sweet, we haven't worked out how much money everyone's getting, but you know, we know we're going to get money. Everyone wants about 10% more than they need. So,
yeah. And how do you enjoy working at CTI?
Oh, it's great. Like I really enjoy working with academics, and I think that comes back to when I was a researcher or a graduate student, in terms of working with working with the research, but also seeing a sense of progression, and also just it's satisfying to see a project get completed, but then move on to the next step. So, for instance, back in the Centre for Mental Health, I was working with some early career researchers and working with them on NHMRC grants, so fellowships, and they both got some. And so that was really satisfying to see. And then a year or two later, so either the end of my research role or the start of the Sobel role, I sort of saw them go for another couple of grants and get those. So it was nice to see like that sort of continued success.
Yeah, really. And also makes you feel kind of old too. It's like when you see the PhD students, they're doing their studies, and then you help them out with their Qualtrics, or you help them do stuff. And then, you know, down the track, it's like, oh my God, they've got like a really senior role here, or they're doing really well in academia. It is really rewarding to see, isn't it? It does kind of make you feel a bit old too.
But that's like the point of it. It's like, you know, teachers, like you've always got to let like your students grow up, I guess. So like, if they stay in the same position, then like we wouldn't be a very good university.
Hey, so tell me, Dan, were you back on campus before this most recent lockdown? And were you, you know, getting back into the swing of things on campus?
I was, although my roommate would say I wasn't, because I'd have to get up at 6:30, and I was very vocal about not enjoying that. But no, when I was on campus, it was great, because I make use of the Hawthorne Leisure Centre, which is great for lunchtime.
Oh, yeah.
So if you don't go, please do, because it's free to staff.
Yeah, and the pool, they've got a great pool there.
The pool is great. I'm missing the yoga and the Pilates. But to actually answer the question, to get back to the work stuff, I was going in Tuesday, Wednesday, and sometimes Thursdays. But it just so happened that the lockdown was on the Thursday, so I couldn't go in that time. But no, it's good, because you get like you have the face-to-face interactions, and also you're visible, which is a blessing and a curse, because you're visible, so you can help with all these different problems, and like people just want to talk to you, which is great. But then at the same time, if you've got something that you just need to sit down and do, so Excel spreadsheets, budgets and that kind of stuff, it's very annoying or irritating. I mean, not that you can't welcome the other work, but it's sort of like if you've got something else on, you're like, no, just let me be. I would put my headphones on and just like type out some things for an hour or two.
Yeah, you need that space, don't you?
Yeah.
So at home, have you got a good setup at home? What do you prefer, working from home or a bit of mix in the office, working from home?
It depends what you're doing. So if you need to do something in Finance One, and everyone who works with Finance One knows, like you need to connect to the virtual network. And with my home setup, I don't actually hook my laptop up to the screens. I've just got the two computers separate. So that means if I've got to do like a lot of budgety stuff / spreadsheet stuff, I'd rather do it on my big computer. But if I have to use Finance One, then I'd rather be at work doing that because like the screens hook up and everything's pretty nice.
Yeah. You can get your Finance One on your like on your home computer.
Okay, pro tip.
There you go. Pro tip, if anyone didn't know that there is a way to get to Finance One on a remote login as well as you don't actually have to use your laptop, because I have a similar setup. I have my home computer and my work laptop is my work, is Swinburne's. I still use this computer to get onto Finance One. It is slow.
And that's just annoying. But like it also means that you can like do something and then go for a walk, talk to some academics, meet up with your co-workers, which was really nice because I caught up with David and Patrick in the office before the lockdown, and that was just very nice to be able to work collaboratively on things, but things that weren't necessarily, that you'd bring up straight away. And so I think being back on campus, you sort of make those connections a bit more freely because it's not so regimented in, let's set up a call. What's the call about? It's about this. And, like if you've got a screen in front of you, like you'll have emails popping up and like other queries. And so it's very easy to sort of get diverted into some other task as opposed to like talking to the person and seeing what thing that they've got going on.
Have you noticed working from home though, it'll get to, 5:30. Oh shit, it's 6 o'clock. Oh my God, what am I doing? Stop working, you just, do you experience that as well? Because I know I do.
It depends on what I'm working on. So a lot of the time I'll keep to a routine. So every lockdown, I think every time I've not had a routine for a lockdown, I've gotten a bit more down about it. Or it's affected me a bit more negatively just because I didn't know what was coming up, or I didn't have that sort of like, these are the hours that you stick to. Now's like your leisure time. This is your work time. And so as long as I kept to having those walks and having those like breaks and making sure that I did something differently, I was okay. So, I mean, I think it's the same thing at work. Like you can easily be at work and still work until 5 or 6 if you're like really like smashing something out.
Yeah, true.
But it's easier to like sort of go, everyone else has left. I should probably go as well. Yeah.
I'm going to catch that 5:15 train.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to do that. So you've kind of touched a bit on one of my other questions I want to talk to you about was a Groundhog Day. So working at home during this most recent lockdown, there's been a bit of Groundhog Day for me. Get up, put the kettle on, open up the windows or curtains or whatever. And then it's like, oh my God, it's just same. So mixing it up is really important, isn't it?
So I think I'm in Brunswick, so there's like 20 or 30, like probably even more, like hundreds of coffee shops around. So what I would do is I'd sort of do work for a bit, go for a walk for the coffee for the first sort of exercise break, and make sure I go to somewhere else just to break it up, to see things and, stretch your legs, actually get out and about. But then like you still need that routine in terms of like you'd have it at a certain point in time. So you'd always have your lunch break. You'd always do something at like 5 o'clock when you clock off, just to break it up. And then I think for the longer one, like last year, with my roommate, we'd go, okay, like Thursday night's our like takeaway night. We're going to do movie night on this night, this thing on this night, and just sort of like break it up into different bits that you could look forward to. And so that made a big difference as like, you had something to look forward to as opposed to being like, well, I wonder when lockdown's going to end. Yeah,
I agree. What about you, Ash? Do you have a bit of a Groundhog Day moment?
I, yes and no. So I think the lockdown before this one, I think it was just, there was a lot to it, but I just got back into my lockdown routine, I have not a lot of grey area. I like to live in the extremes. So in terms of lockdown, once I'm used to the idea, I tend to just about go full hermit and think of buying a farm and living off the grid. Like, instead of just, what's normal and what needs to change, I'm like, no, I will go into my hovel, and I get all my interaction very happily online with people, because that's what I do all day, and that fills up that sort of the extrovert in me, the need to talk to people. And any other time, I am quite happy to stay home and never leave the house. Don't want people knocking at the door or know the neighbours.
Yeah.
So it's my partner John who does that sort of casual socialising a lot better than what I do. But I sort of thrive in lockdowns in that way, or risk becoming a full hermit.
Full hermit. Hey, Daniel, you are a Swinburne alumni.
Yep.
Correct? Yep.
Technically, yes.
Yeah. So you did some of your studies in media, is that right?
Yeah. So that was the video game narrative stuff. Which is a lot of fun. Like, I really enjoy it. But definitely very hard to do without a scholarship. So that was one of the reasons I probably didn't go so well. But no, it was really enjoyable. So I did that with Daniel Golding and Julian Novitz as my supervisors, and Liam Burke. I'm not sure if he's still in the school of Ash at the time. I've forgotten the acronym now.
Nice one.
So what was it?
How did you like that one, Ash? The School of Ash.
So when I worked in HAD, that's so it's School of Social Sciences, Media, Film and Education. Now,
very good.
So I have heard it called Smurf, which I think is one of the best nickname acronyms ever. I think it's fantastic. But I was housed originally in that building. So that was the School of Ash, and I was new to HAD. And one of the things that took me longest to get used to was, this is in Ash. Excuse me?
What?
How dare you say that?
Yeah.
Rude.
Did a double take for quite some time until I got used to it being the School of Ash, and now it is the school with the hands down best acronym. I actually love the Swinburne acronyms, and some of them do sound like infections or diseases. I mean, like today I've just got like a bad case of the Sobels. I don't know about you. When you put it that way.
I always thought of it as like a rhyme with noble. So I'm like, part of Sobel, like.
So noble.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I never thought of the so noble part.
So, I mean, maybe we'll get the reputation of being a bit stuck up.
Look.
Oh, ouch.
I am sure that, people across the board have had that reputation before or not.
Mm-hmm.
So, at the end of the day, what someone else says about us that we don't know is none of our business. And that's how I end up with people thinking I'm stuck up, because I'm sitting there sounding like I'm stuck up. Maybe there's a correlation there.
So snowball of you.
Snowball.
Daniel, are you watching the Olympics? What's your favourite armchair expert sport? And
I've been saving myself up, to be honest, because there's I've been getting into bouldering I was getting into bouldering before lockdown, as in before COVID.
What? Please explain.
Oh, bouldering's climbing, but like you don't. Indoors, like with they're mostly like plastic molds and stuff, so you sort of go up like that. So I was doing that before COVID hit, which was the end of 2019, if memory serves correct. And then we had a bunch of lockdowns, so it was like get better, worse, get better, worse, get better, worse. So I'm holding out for that, which is next week, and that's pretty exciting. So there's been some competitions in the months leading up to the Olympics, not with the same, like sometimes with the same people, but it's just sort of like different sections. So there's like speed climbing and like sports climbing. So I'm really keen to just like sit down and watch all of that. And also I tend to do the thing where if I'm not watching it, I'm doing something else, then I'll just zone out completely. So if I'm going to watch it, I need to sit.
Oh, okay.
Now it is.
Yeah.
Skateboarding as well. Skateboarding, they had Tony Hawk doing the commentary, I think.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's an absolute legend, Tony Hawk.
Yeah. So that was cool.
Yeah. So, and you'll be able to get some tips maybe for doing some speed bouldering.
I mean, in the same way that, you're watching it, like, I don't know, Kathy Freeman do like 100 meters or whatever. It's like, I know how to run better now. I mean, yes, but also I don't think I could say that with a straight face and be like, no, yeah. Toe hook. I'll do that on the wall next time. Just elevate my game.
No, that was a tough question by me.
No. It's fair enough. I'm going to humble myself, not be very snowball, and say probably not.
But when you're watching the Olympics, you might be watching, say, the gymnastics or the diving, and then after a while you're watching it and just like, oh, no, that was a shit dive. No, splash, or that triple backflip bike, whatever it is. No good.
I mean,
something that you've never ever had a crack at in your life, but instantly you become an expert.
No, I think I'm too humble for that. I think with climbing, I get closer in terms of like, you should have done this technique. But every time you look at them, because they'll do these like incredible things where there'll be like a gap of like that much that they've got like all their fingers on and that kind of stuff. I'll be like, maybe they could have gripped it a bit harder, but at the same time, like, Daniel, can you do that? It's like, no. So,
yes. It's like, I like to watch the cycling, and after, these guys are like cycling for, could be up to 4 or 5 hours or whatever. And then, you want your guy to win, like Richie Port. It's like, come on, Richie, just go faster. Like, just do it. It's like he's got zero left in the tank. He's dying. And but you're sitting home in the comfort of your couch, glass of wine in hand, going, come on, you can go faster. What's wrong with you? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, it's been really great chatting to you today, Daniel Dunne. Dan Dunne, and really want to say thank you so much for being a part of the podcast Professionals with Kristy and Ash. But as I mentioned to you earlier, reconnection and engagement with staff is the theme of the pod, and this is something that we're trying to share more broadly on the podcast. And also just wanted to say, do you have any tips or recommendations or stuff that you do that you like to do to connect or re-engage with staff, particularly coming back out of lockdown?
I think the most important thing is you just make the time to actually have a chat, if that makes sense, as opposed to like you go in for coffee or you rock up at work at 8 o'clock, start at 8. So you're like, got to set up the computer. You just take the time to slow down and actually have a conversation and find out how people are going, what they're actually working on, but not in like do I need to worry about anything? Just like, what's happening? And that goes a long way in just terms of making those connections, making your work life, like if you want to be very professional, making your work life a lot less, not stressful, but a lot easier, because you can have those conversations and you trust each other and you're enjoying each other's company. But also like being willing to sort of waste time in a way by like going over to a different center or going to other colleagues and just, having that chat, or just, going out for lunch and that kind of thing, and actually discussing the Olympics.
Yeah, exactly. Good answer. I feel the same way too. Always it's good to have a bit of a chat, and that face-to-face time is really important. Looking forward to doing a bit more of that when I get back on campus, maybe next week. Not sure. We'll just see.
Agreed.
That was awkward. Bit of a pause there.
It's the conversation and being able to just be who we are as we are just makes everything easier, life easier, lockdowns easier, and certainly work easier. So the hybrid work, or the working on campus and off campus, as Dan, you said, that connection, that people connection is really important, but that is what your day is consumed with. So I think hybrid, being able to also work from home and get those things done. After last year and after the staffing changes, we're all sort of doing more work, and that productivity is found by us being able to balance that as well. But without the human connection, all work and no play, and we all end up in The Shining. That is not good. Not good for the organisation, possibly not good for society, might be great for some history and psych researchers in a few years' time, but I'm not sure if that's worth the price. So anyway, we took it from awkward to sinister.
Yeah. Thanks.
My public
Johnny.
service for this. Yep.
Thanks, Johnny.
So thank you, Dan. Sorry to end it in a very strange place.
It's okay.
It's all good.
That's where we end up sometimes. I mean, look at this year.
Yes, 2021 is 2020's hold my beer.
Yeah, she's back. All right, good on you, Dan. Thanks so much for being a part of it, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Catch you.
Another great podcast as usual. Let's do the post-pod admin wrap-up. How do you think it went? Give me a score out of 10, please.
I'm still sticking with my 11. I think that's what I've been scoring things. Have I always said 10, or have I gone for 11?
No, you've always said we're overachievers, we're amazing.
Actually, maybe I might even go 12, right, for this one.
Okay.
Because we touched on some really quite heavy but important stuff, talking about the alcohol creep, the food creep, but just generally ways in which this new way of living in and out of lockdown. I think people need to know that they're not alone when that sort of stuff happens. So I think that gets us to the 12. Really, that's a really cool thing to talk about. And Dan's great. Dan's storytelling,
Excellent.
I work all the time, and I forget how well he puts something together. So that was just really such a great.
It was excellent to bring him into our world of chatter, and even though you're his boss, he didn't hold back, and he wasn't scared to just which is really lovely. It was super lovely to get. Nah, not at all. And that kind of leads me into coming up on the pod. Hopefully, we're going to be putting the word out, the call out to Pascale. If you're listening, I know you are. Would you like to be part of the podcast, Pascale? I'm sure she would. But we also have lined up the legend of alumni, Ruby Kreisel, and also the podcast with the podcasters. So we have got so much up our sleeve, Ash. It's not even funny.
I'm so excited for the podcasters cast pod. Cool. Yep, that's going to go down in history as one of my finest speaking moments, I'm sure. Cast pod.
We'll figure it out. We'll come up with something amazing. We're going to put the call out on Yammer. All right, excellent. Ash. As we end up this latest episode, I want to thank everyone for their support and suggestions.
And you. I want to thank you, Kristy, actually. Oh. I know, I'm just throwing this in. This is not in our plan. But I want to thank you. You are the heart of this podcast, and it's been such it's so exciting and great to work with you generally and particularly on this. So thank you.
Thank you. You're very, very sweet. Thank you, Ash. I love working with you too.
Sorry for springing that on you.
It's okay. It's totally okay. All right, Ash, great to see you. Have an awesome weekend.
You too.
See you soon, and everybody enjoy the podcast. And
take care, everyone.
Okay, see ya.
Bye.